Señoras y señores, bienvenidos a mi canal. Hoy está con nosotros uno de los mejores bateristas de jazz de la historia. Él ha trabajado con grandes artistas como Oscar Peterson, Ray Brown, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Michael Bublé, la gran cantante y pianista Diana Krall. También ha grabado su propio material, que cuenta con más de 12 trabajos discográficos. So, let me introduce to you one of the greatest drummers in the history of jazz music in the world, the one and only Jeff Hamilton.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you from Los Angeles, so far away.
Yes. Let's start from the beginning. Which was the reason that you decided to play drums?
Well, when I was 5 years old, I saw Gene Krupa on television, and I was lying on the floor like this, looking up at the black and white television screen, and he captured my attention, and it was his sound, I think, more than anything, with the floor tom, sing, 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 and everything about him. I wanted to be that, and I've kind of pretty much stuck to that my whole life. Is I knew what I wanted early on, and that's what I went for. So that's what got me interested. So my everyone else in my family except my father played piano. So my mother made me take piano lessons, and I hated playing the piano. So I like to say that I started playing the piano at 5 and quit at 5:30. So at 8 years old, they let me start playing drums. I started taking lessons then at 8 years old on snare drum only for 5 years.
Wow, that's great. So you started studying drums in a very young age.
Yes, yeah, I did. I think because I had made a summer band of 12-year-olds when I was 8, and the director said, you know, I encourage you to get with the best private teacher in town, who is a rudimental snare drum teacher, wonderful teacher, John McMahon, and he wouldn't let you move to drum set until you won your first contest. And so I was too young to enter the contest, so I had to wait until I was 12, and that's why I had 5 years of snare drum, you know, before I got the drum set.
So what kind of method you were studying back then?
It was Haskell-Harb book methods, book 1 and book 2, and Benjamin Podemsky, Charles Wilcoxon, 150 All-American Solos, and then Anthony Cerrone, the Red Book, which almost made me want to quit playing because it was so hard. And at that time, I was fortunate enough to then move on to drum set. But those are the main method books that I remember. And then a little-known drum author, snare drum author that not many people know. I'm from Indiana, the state of Indiana in the United States. And this author was also from Indiana. His name is Harold Firestone. Okay. And he wrote a series of solo pieces for championship purposes for these contests. And so they were also very difficult, but they swung too. I mean, they had that ding, ding, ding kind of beat to them. And I really loved those pieces as well.
Great, very good. And what are, besides, you know, Gene Krupa and obviously your teacher, what are your main influences on drums?
Well, my influences came from my teacher, because the rudimental snare drumming translated to the drum set, like Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson and Roy Burns, which a lot of people don't speak about. Yeah. He played with Benny Goodman before he started Aquarian Heads. You know, in the 60s, he was playing with Benny Goodman. Yeah. And I saw him give a clinic that was phenomenal just with the snare drum, and he scared me to death. And so I saw him then move to the drum set and apply these things, as well as the other gentlemen that I saw. But the rudimental thing that I was learning was transferring so easily to the drum set that those are the types of players that I was influenced by, mainly in my teens by Buddy Rich. Okay. And then when I went to Indiana University, I didn't make a jazz ensemble. They had 3 bands, and I didn't make an ensemble. Guess who won the first band? His name is Peter Erskine. We were freshmen together. And so I went to the director and said, what do I need to do? And he said, well, you know, you might want to think of swinging a little differently than you're playing. It's too much Buddy Rich. And so I asked who I could listen to, and they guided me to Mel Lewis and Art Blakey and Philly Joe Jones. And so I became a real Mel Lewis disciple at that point.
I'm a great fan of yours, and obviously I have your brushes, your signature brushes.
Okay.
And, you
All
know,
right.
there's a lot of jazz drummers here that they really want to know how to play brushes, and I want to know what kind of methods do you recommend for playing brushes?
Well, I've always loved the brushes. The music store in my small hometown threw in a pair of Gene Krupa Slingerland red rib brushes. And my mother said, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. My mother said, now, you know, make use of that. That's a gift. Don't lay them in your closet floor and let them collect dust. So I started playing them the way I thought they should sound by hearing them on TV and a Louis Armstrong record that my uncle had given me. And I kind of came up with sort of a side-to-side motion, more so than playing with sticks, like we do in a vertical motion. And then I studied with John Von Ohlen later on. I actually left Indiana University after 2 years and studied with John Von Ohlen. So I started applying that to the brushes, and I realized I got a fatter sound, a more lush sound. And about a year later, I was playing with Monty Alexander and John Clayton, and we played Philadelphia, and Philly Joe Jones walked into the club.
Wow.
You know, so it was, and Bobby Durham, a great drummer who I replaced on Monty's job, was over on the left side of the bandstand, and Philly Joe was over to the right. So I had like stereo panic. Yeah. And I asked Philly Joe for a lesson because I had transcribed so much Philly Joe by then. And the next day, he gave me a lesson from 11 o'clock in the morning until 7 at night, and then he drove me back to my hotel. So during that lesson, he showed me the way he meant for the book to be played, the Brush Artistry, the book that he made. It's a red book. You can find it online, and it's Philly Joe Jones' brush book. It really is the brush Bible, I think. So I just applied that to what Von Ohlen had shown me, and I kind of came up with my own way of playing brushes. But everything I do is not, I don't play an overhead very often with the brushes. Everything is from the side. So that's basically what my concept is.
You know, for me, you're one of the most melodic drummers I ever heard, you know, and I want to know, how do you approach a drum solo? Because it's like, every time I hear you play a drum solo, it's not like showing chops and everything and playing fast. It's like you're playing a piano drum set. It's like you play melodies. It's amazing, you know. You know, we want to know how you approach a drum solo.
Okay. Well, first of all, I can play a very technical solo and with a lot of chops for the right money. But I think I prefer having all of that in your back pocket, if you will. If you have all that technique, then you can pull it out anytime to get out of trouble. But I don't like it being the main focus of a solo. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use any technique in your solos, because I do. But I'm thinking of them as musical phrases more than rudiments. So, for example, if you take a 6-stroke roll,
okay,
dot, 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 right?
Yes.
Da, yada, 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 da, yada, yada, yada. So if you take it on the snare drum, I'm not thinking dot, da, 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 da. I'm thinking da, yada, yada, which was the way Philly Joe would play those things, and some of Kenny Clark, you know, some of my other favorite drummers would make those like a tenor player would play it. Bo, yebo, 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 you know, not I'm not tonguing everything, if you will, like a horn player would do it. Yeah. I'm slurring over it, like you mentioned legato before, and that's what I'm thinking. So you turn it into a musical phrase that way. And I use those things, I use dynamics within the 6-stroke roll. Dot, 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 yada. So it comes out like that, yada, and it's like, wow, what was that? It's harder to transcribe because you can't hear every single stroke so clearly. So that's why, I sing everything that when I'm playing, I'm singing what I want to play, and I'm a big believer that anything you want to play, you should sing first, and you won't have any trouble playing it, because if you internalize that, and you really sing it the way you want to play it, and then envision yourself playing it after you sing it, then play it exactly the way you sing it. and you cut out a lot of practice time because it goes from here right to your hands instead of looking at a page and trying to get the notes down.
You know, like a month ago, I was interviewing a jazz drummer, which is, he was my drum teacher in the United States, in Florida. His name is Duffy Jackson. I don't know if you know. And
yeah, he's not very good. He's not a very good drummer.
Yeah, he told me you are the best drummer. He says that you are the best drummer. And
really?
And he says, he told me that very many times. He says,
wow, wow, that means a lot to me. Okay, I changed my mind about Duffy. Okay. No, he and I are the same age, and I actually was trying to get it together like Duffy did. At 17 years old, he recorded with Monty Alexander.
Yeah. And
to this day, for me, that's Duffy Jackson's greatest playing on that record. He was phenomenal. You can't believe he's 17 years old. Wow. And he had all the technique, he had all the chops in the world, but he played musically, as you mentioned, and his time was hot. He had a hot beat for Monty, yes. And they really were so compatible. Duffy, I'm joking before what I said about I never liked Duffy Jackson because we're old friends, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And we'd have a thing where he'd walk. I'd say, "Man, that record you did, you know." Yeah, I was only 17. I said, "I know, I was only 17 too. We're the same age." You know? Yeah. And so he's a phenomenal player and a lovely person. I really love Duffy.
Amazing. Great guy, very, very good person, and a great.
Well, you were fortunate to study with him. You know, he has a lot of knowledge, and his father Chubby, I got to meet, who's also part of that Woody Herman lineage. You know, so it's thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
We want to know what kind of drum heads are very good for brushes.
Well, I was in on the development of the Remo Fiberskin. Diplomat. They also make Ambassador other weights, but the Diplomat is the perfect medium weight. It's like a coated Ambassador Remo head. It's the same thickness, but it's because of the coating. They start with the Diplomat first head, and then they put the coating on, so that makes it a medium weight head. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there are other brush heads that even Remo has come up with, but they either have too much resistance to the brush for me, or they're too slick. It's almost like you're on ice on some of those things. But the Fiberskin coating, I really love the Fiberskin. Diplomat, the Ambassador is too thick for me.
Okay, very good. So
and I use all Fiberskin Diplomats on all of the drums. Bass drum too, no power stroke.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the bass drum too? You
right.
Okay.
A plain head, and I put a little thin felt strip about 10 inches long, and I tape it to the inside of the head down by the pedal, and that's the only muffling I have on it.
Okay. And in the other side of the bass drum?
Nothing. It's an open head. Yeah. The resonating head. So that's what your drum sound is. That front head pitch is your drum sound.
Exactly. And what kind of sizes do you use? You use 20 or 18 inch?
Well, I use the same size drums except for the bass drum, 8x12 and a 14x14 floor tom, and a 6-inch. I have a new snare drum that Mapex designed for me called the Maximus. It's coming out in a month or so. Wow. And it's 6x14. I've never played a drum that deep. I've always played a 5.5. But it's a 6x14, and then the bass drum for small groups, I use an 18-inch, normal size 18-inch, and then for big band or some organ like Joey DiFrancesco, you know, you got 2 Leslie speakers, I'll use a 20-inch bass drum, but only for big band or that setting. Everything else I use an 18, and I tune it down a little bit, you know.
Yep. time that I saw you playing, and actually was on that DVD with Diana Krall live in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, this is the most perfect music I ever heard. It's like perfection.
Oh,
All the
thank you.
volumes and the orchestra, it was like unreal. It was like a movie, like a movie soundtrack. It was.
Wow, thank you.
And
Thank
I really want to know, how was your experience playing with her? With
Well,
Krall.
it's a long story, and I'll try to make it short. But she came to a jazz camp when she was 19 years old, and I was the teacher there. I'd been a teacher at that camp since 1978, and she came as a 19-year-old piano player. She didn't sing yet,
Okay.
and as luck would have it, she was placed in my combo. And so I heard her play the first day, and it was like, holy cow, you play great. She said, yeah, I want to know, I came to the camp because I want to know the inner workings of the Monty Alexander trio. She had heard Montreux Alexander with John Clayton and I on it. And so the one with all the hair on the cover,
Yeah.
And so I said, okay. So I started telling her about how we put things together. And by the end of the week, I said, you have so much talent, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? She said, I want to be a jazz piano player. And I said, really? She said, yeah. And I said, who do you want to study with? And she mentioned Jimmy Rolls. And I said, well, I worked with him a couple of weeks ago. Are you serious? Because I'll contact him if you are. But you're in a small town in Canada, and he's in Los Angeles where I am, And so her parents came to the end of the week. We had a talk, and they were in full support of her moving to Los Angeles to study with Jimmy Rolls. So she came to LA. I introduced her to John Clayton and Ray Brown, and Ray said, that's your project. I'll produce the record, but you're the one that needs to be in charge of how the session goes. This is your find. So we did Stepping Out, that record. She had left LA for a couple of years, went to Berkeley, and while she was there, I didn't know that she had worked on her singing. So she had all these Nat Cole type arrangements, and she called us up, and John and I said, can we do this record? I want to come out to LA and do it. So we did the record. That became Stepping Out.
Yes.
So then an agent in New York, Marianne Topper, also booked Christian McBride and Benny Green, and when they were just starting out. Said, I need a female artist. We have a lot of women's jazz festivals, and I need a woman to present to them. And I said, well, John and I just did this record with a piano player that sings a little bit, And she said, send an 8x10 and the CD. And so I forgot about it for a couple of weeks, and I called Krall up, and I said, hey, you might want to call Topper and say, she wants an 8x10 and a CD. Well, right after that, there was a board meeting with all these record labels, that were going to bid on who got Diana, and Tommy LaPuma at GRP won. So he signed Diana, and the rest is history,
Yeah.
And this offer for the Live in Paris project came up, and it was going to be a DVD and orchestra and Klaus Ogerman arrangements, and there was obviously a lot of money in this project. And her new management company said to her, you can have anybody you want. She said, I'd like to have John and Jeff back. And then she liked Anthony Wilson, who was playing guitar in Clayton-Hamilton Orchestra at the time.
Great guitar player. He's awesome.
Yeah.
For me, one of the highlights of that show is Devil May Care. I love that song.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
You like those fast drum solo songs, don't you? Whirly Bird, Devil May Care.
Yeah. And I also like the ballads, Maybe you'll be there. Is one of the songs.
Maybe you'll be there, right?
Unreal. The solo.
It was, with Klaus Ogerman's arrangements, and you should be sitting in that orchestra with all the strings wrapped around you, and it's hard to keep the tears from not rolling down your face, because it's not because the song is sad. The beautiful music that's coming out, and everybody is exactly in the same frame of mind, and it's unbelievable to experience. So I think the camera work on that DVD really captured some of that for the audience.
Yeah. Is there any chance that you can, when all this stops, the virus and everything, is there any chance that you can come to Argentina and give a drum clinic or play here?
Well, I'd love that. I was there once with Diana Krall, and I loved it. and we went to a tango hall, you know, and watched an old building, and they were upstairs on the second floor, and there was continuous music. Man, those people were serious. You talk about serious dancers. That was some serious dancers, and I just loved my visit there. We were only there 2 days, but I loved it, and I would love to come back and do that.
Did you try our meat?
Oh yeah, we went to a famous steakhouse that had a statue of a life-size at the front door in Buenos Aires, and the first time I looked at it, I went, whoa, I didn't realize it wasn't real, you know. But beautiful food, yeah. And your wines. I also collect wines.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of your wines. The Cabernets especially are so good, you know.
Maybe in the future you can come to Mendoza. Mendoza is not Buenos Aires, obviously.
Right.
It looks kind of like California, the weather, you know. And it has the mountains and everything. And
so more like Napa Valley area up Northern California. Yeah.
They have
good wines out of Mendoza.
Yes, but obviously it's very known for the wines. The quality of the wine is awesome.
Right.
So it's been a true honor for me, you know, that to do this interview and know you, and one of my idols on the drums, you know.
Well, thank you very much. Very kind of you to invite me to do this. So like I said, maybe we can do this again with Duffy, or have some other kind of thing in a few months, you know?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, all right.
So, Jeff Hamilton, thank you for everything, and we keep in touch.
All right, and all the best to your listeners, and I hope to see all of you sometime in the near future.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Salt peanuts. 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 Peanuts.